Ladies and gentlemen, I am currently bending down because I have my work shirt on and I don't want to show you my work logo. I just got off work. I worked 12 hours. Before that, I slept for 7 hours. So I was pretty much out of the world. But for all of you that were in the world, that were alive and paying attention, you probably heard of the passing of one of the internet's most famous, or maybe infamous, online political opinion givers recently, Charlie Kirk. Let me start this message by saying a father, a family man, a community leader, and a youth activist losing their life will always be a sad event. Will never be something that I personally endorse, condone, that I would never fund, that I would never make fun of, that I would never be a part of. Given the fact that anyone is allowed to give their opinion and nobody should ever be persecuted or killed for it. Part 1. What I have just told you just now are the reasons why I think this is a tragedy and why I am not celebrating the death of Mr. Charlie Kirk. For those of you who do not specifically know the terms of what happened, and yes, there's a very gruesome video which I will not be showing. Charlie Kirk was doing I guess it was like a Q&A almost, like a fan interview, a meeting, a debate at a college in Utah, and he was assassinated. He was shot by a gun. The gunman is still at large, so I don't believe they know the murder weapon, and they obviously don't know who the murderer is, whether it was a student, political enemy, what could have been a fucking immigrant. We don't know. We have no idea, right? But he was shot. Now, there is a reason why I did not end the video at my first statement. Because whilst I think it is sad that Charlie Kirk has passed away, that his wife and children were in attendance and watched him bleed out, and I think that is one of the most tragic things I've ever heard, and personally seen. I watched it, right? There's a video, there's multiple videos, multiple angles. It really happened, and it's horrifying. But here is why I think that it is being celebrated, not by me, but by many. Now, this is one of the first, this might be the first clip of Charlie Kirk I ever saw, right? And in this clip, basically, he's doing one of these Jubilee videos, and he's surrounded with 20 people who have a different opinion of him, and he just flat out says if his daughter, right, if his young daughter was a victim of SA and was pregnant, he would force her to carry the baby to term regardless of how old she is, right? And that's not me making this up or lying, it's just here in the clip.
This shows they were actually better in the 1940s. It was bad, it was evil.
Oh, no. Sorry. He said black people were better off in the 1940s, so in the Jim Crow era. Then, here we go. This one's the first clip I ever saw of Charlie Kirk.
So I just have one question. There's, like, in any case, you don't think there's any case where abortion should be legal?
There's a very, very rare couple cases.
Okay, so you do think that a
one
couple
second.
cases
Hold
it
on.
is legal?
If cesarean section is not going to save the mother's life, and the mother's life is actually at risk, which is debated amongst growing numbers of OBGYNs,
Okay.
that is the only case where abortion should be
Do you
allowed.
think there
but
should-
but people say that it is a growing consensus in the pro-life world that abortion is never medically necessary.
Okay. So if you had a daughter and she was 10 and she got raped, and she was
Well,
gonna give
I-
birth
I
and
do
she
have
would
a
no
daughter.
wait oh and she was gonna give birth and she was gonna live, would you want her to go through that and carry her
That's
rapist baby?
That's awfully graphic. The
It's
answer-
no, but it's a real life scenario that happens
calm
to
down.
many people.
The answer is yes. The baby would be delivered.
Oh, okay, great. So that's insane.
But let me tell.
Yeah, so that's the first clip of Charlie Kirk I ever saw, right? This one was from the same video where he says black people were better off in the 1940s.
This shows they were actually better in the 1940s. It was bad, it was evil, but what happened? Something changed. They committed less crimes.
Maybe they
less
were afraid. I mean, 4,000. Black men, women, and children were killed
Okay, so
in
that's-
violent
that's
lynch
your-
mobs.
That's your explanation, but I guess
Racial
so, but
terror
Black-
permeated
Black Amer-
American culture for hundreds of years.
Black America is
You don't
worse than
think
it has been
that
in the last
affected
80 years.
the generational psyche of an entire group?
Okay, this Black America is worse than it has been in the last 80 years. Because 80 years ago, Black America didn't fucking exist. What is one of the biggest parts of black culture, right? Hip hop or music. Do you think 80 years ago black musicians would have been signed to record labels? If they were, it was very rarely. It was under the pretense that they probably weren't going to get a TV audience appearance. They weren't going to be on a show, right? They weren't going to get a tour. More than likely, your music was just going to be played on the radio without your face being shown. Or you were just going to songwrite. You weren't going to be credited for that. Music is a staple of black culture, and black artists were not respected in music unless they were playing the trumpet or the trombone in predominantly black cities, right? Sports. I've got a black athlete's jersey on. Black athletes were not paid the same as white athletes in this better black America that Charlie Kirk is talking about, right? Black Americans actually didn't even play in the nationally televised, marketed, pushed leagues. They had their own leagues for most sports, right? Black America was better 80 years ago when black people weren't driving nearly as much. when they didn't have as much money per household, right? The black median income was lower. What was better about black America? That the crime rate was lower. They weren't committing any crimes. They didn't fucking have anything. And a lot of their crimes weren't being reported on anyway, because did you think black people were going to get help from the police? You don't even know the black statistics of 80 years ago, because I guarantee that shit is skewed. We don't have what we're supposed to have of that time period. 80 years ago, black Americans would have been going to war in World War II, coming home and being called slurs. They would have gotten no war benefits regardless of what happened to them out there. They would not have been given veteran status. If they were, they'd be very lucky to receive such a thing. They would be disrespected on their home soil, because that was black America 80 years ago. This is why I wanted to make this video, because whilst I think it is sad that this man has died, and I feel for his family, I do not like Charlie Kirk. I have never liked Charlie Kirk. I never will like Charlie Kirk. I never will like any of his supporters, any of his co-creators, or any of his fans. It is disgusting. It is asinine, and it is ridiculous to pretend that people should not feel at least a slight sense of relief that this man who was pushing this incredibly racist rhetoric and all this hate speech is now no longer capable of doing such a thing. Again, I am not celebrating the death of a man to gun violence, but this was a man who advocated for less gun laws, who advocated for the Second Amendment, and who said that black people were these violent gun criminals, and was gunned down in a predominantly white city, country, in America, a predominantly white country. This happened to him with a white president and white lawmakers. And the violent black community, most likely because they don't have the shooter yet, didn't do this to him. The trans community, which he was so against, didn't do this to him. He's an Israel dick rider. Israelis didn't do this to him. What did this to him? Who did this to him? Was his own mouth that constantly pushed all this negativity and hate speech into the world and didn't expect any sort of real consequence. Why? Because he was a privileged white man. That is why I'm making this video, to say we are too desensitized to murder, and it is sad that people would genuinely celebrate a man, a father, losing his life. However, this is not a man whose life had any significance to me, any importance to me. I did not like him. I do not give a fuck about him. But it is sad that many people had to watch him die, myself included. That's about it. See ya. Actually.